E-commerce in Asia is growing fast. This year alone, revenues are expected to hit $2.35 trillion, and by 2029, half the population in the region could be shopping online. To discuss this, we have Lionel Berth of Ascendia and David McLean of Hubd. Starting with Lionel, what changes in consumer habits are driving e-commerce growth?
The COVID was a big boost at a stage for the e-commerce growth related to cross-border. More and more people did order online. This was benefiting the cross-border e-commerce. After that, there was a bit of a plateau. But over the last 18 months, there has been an acceleration and a change of the habits from the consumer, which are still looking more and more for more affordable, more diversified, more choice, more options for accessing any product that they want. And this has been really exploited by the Chinese marketplace. The Chinese marketplace over the last 18 months have been able to offer solutions, prices, and being relevant and have captured a huge part of that growth. So one big element, I would say, of the trend in e-commerce has been this powerful penetration of new players, mainly from China.
I completely support everything that Lionel has said, because that has been sort of the key function that has driven growth. I'd add to it that fundamentally, I just think that e-commerce has become even smarter as a retail segment, and they focus very strongly on increasing the convenience for the shopper. So their assortments are better, their payment options have become more sophisticated, there's less friction within a lot of the e-commerce transactions that are occurring at the moment. The promotional periods have increased throughout the year, and that's driven additional demand. And also there's been a strong focus on delivery choices to support the ever-increasing demand for optionality from consumers.
Now, looking at the other side of things, what were the biggest challenges that you've observed for e-commerce last year? Lionel?
Well, I think the challenges are coming from the increase of the competition, and with, as David was saying, with more and more sophisticated supply that oblige the different players that are active in the e-commerce market to be adapting very fast to this evolution. In the old days, it was quite simple. You were having few end-to-end supplier that could bring you the solutions from the country of origin, from your sellers to the buyer. But now all the markets are becoming much more sophisticated, also on the delivery side, with multiple options. And therefore, you need to have multiple connectivity that you need to establish along the capacity to transport all those volumes from one end to the other end. So the second challenge is, if you want to remain competitive, you need to give the choice to your consumer. And you need to therefore be able to establish all the connections, the contract, the management of the suppliers along the supply chain to cope with this sophistication, which is increasing in every market.
I completely agree. The reality is that as retailers try to compete, they're offering more and more delivery choices, and that is just creating more and more pressure on the logistics infrastructure to support it. Furthermore, it's harder to be efficient because we're now offering same day, next day, click and collect, returns, all of these different solutions and the variations that the customers can now enjoy. I think the other thing that I would add to that, just as a specific service, is returns. We're seeing more and more consumers engage in bracketing or wardrobing, where they're buying 10 items and plan to send back 8 or 9 of those items because they're trying to get variations in sizes. And we're seeing some real challenges there from retailers trying to be more sophisticated in the way that they give customers optionality around which size to choose, but also distinguishing between their great customers who purchase and operate in a practical manner that makes it profitable for that retailer versus the behavior of some consumers who are sort of, playing the game and trying to game the system. I think that's creating some issues both from the retailer's point of view, and then the delivery challenges that come around that, and the ability to better segment their customers so that they're providing the right options in an efficient way to the right members of their customer base.
These are all very interesting bits of data. So with all the ups and downs, What's your take on where e-commerce in Asia is headed by 2025?
Asia is probably going to be benefiting from the sophistications that has been able to be developed across the multiple origin markets, and also from the rising demand from the consumer base in Asia. If you compare Asia with the other markets across the world, I would be tempted to consider that this would be probably the fastest growing market as a whole for those two reasons. So roughly speaking, I would say the big Chinese marketplace will continue to be very, very efficient and very capable of obtaining growth, and considering that their business model keeps it changing and evolving in a very, very smart manner. I believe they will have a growth next year. You will still see American marketplaces that will become also trying to push more their penetration of the Asian market. Amazon is one example as well that is creating a similar model as the one that was developed by Temu. And you could see, because of that growth, also some challenges, to come back to your previous question, that may come, because there is a lot also of potential limitation that could come from a regulation point of view, because this is growing so fast that it creates also some friction with the domestic model. So if you are in this environment, to my opinion, it will be potentially a very good year for 2025, but you will need to have the resource and the time that is needed to be able to be flexible enough.
I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, I'd go further and say that in my experience, the Asian marketplaces innovate faster. And I see a lot more consolidation happening within those particular marketplaces. I really do think there's going to be a lot of work around delivery choice innovation, not just to drive more efficiency from a logistics standpoint, but to incentivize the customer to use the delivery choices that the retailers want to actually drive a cost efficiency for them, whilst the customer doesn't feel like they're losing anything in the process. We see initiatives like box-free, label-free, instant refunds. All of these things, I believe, are driving customer loyalty, and also driving a solution where some of these marketplaces can start to have some credentials around sustainability because of the changing sustainability, the changing sustainability sort of makeup of some of these services versus traditional delivery to home. I see increased personalization happening. I see a better understanding of their customer and providing services that so they don't leave any customers behind. And so I see a lot of the innovation, a lot of the growth happening with the larger Asian marketplaces. I think there'll be fast leaders, and then there'll be some followers after that.
Thank you so much for your time today, Lionel and David.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, those were Lionel Berth, CEO of Ascendia Asia Pacific, and David McLean, founder and CEO of Hubd. For more news, visit RetailAsia.com.